Question 1. Assessment of the appropriate response by Aichi University of Technology admissions staff when a proctor reports observing a student exhibiting suspicious behavior during a crucial entrance examination, potentially indicating academic dishonesty, and the student denies any wrongdoing when initially questioned. Option A. Initiate a formal investigation according to university policy. Gather all available evidence. Provide the student with a detailed explanation of the allegations, and offer them a formal opportunity to present their defense before any decision is made regarding their application. Option B. Discuss the proctor's concerns with other admissions staff and faculty members to gauge their opinions before deciding on the next steps, while also informing other students about the incident to maintain transparency. Option C. Immediately disqualify the student's application based on the proctor's report, as the integrity of the entrance examination process must be protected at all costs. Option D. Rely solely on the proctor's initial assessment and proceed with disqualification without further inquiry, assuming the proctor's observation is conclusive. Correct answer is A. Initiate a formal investigation according to university policy. Gather all available evidence. Provide the student with a detailed explanation of the allegations, and offer them a formal opportunity to present their defense before any decision is made regarding their application. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in academic settings where a student's academic integrity may be compromised. The challenge lies in balancing the university's commitment to fostering a supportive learning environment with its obligation to uphold academic standards and prevent misconduct. The specific context of an entrance exam adds further weight, as the integrity of the admissions process is paramount to the university's reputation and the fairness of selection. The need for a fair, thorough, and procedurally sound investigation is critical to avoid both wrongful accusations and the admission of unqualified or dishonest candidates. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a systematic and documented process of investigation, adhering strictly to the Aichi University of Technology's established academic integrity policies and procedures for entrance examinations. This approach prioritizes gathering objective evidence, providing the student with an opportunity to respond to allegations, and ensuring a fair hearing. The regulatory framework for university entrance exams in Japan, including guidelines set by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, MEXT, and internal university regulations, mandates such due process. This ensures that any disciplinary action is based on substantiated facts and that the student's rights are protected, thereby upholding the principles of fairness and academic honesty. Incorrect approach is analysis. An approach that involves immediate dismissal of the application without a formal investigation or opportunity for the student to present their case is procedurally unfair and violates the principles of natural justice, which are implicitly expected within the Japanese educational system's regulatory framework. This bypasses the established disciplinary procedures and could lead to a wrongful accusation, damaging the student's future academic prospects. Another incorrect approach would be to rely solely on the proctor's subjective interpretation of the student's behavior without seeking corroborating evidence or a formal statement from the student. This is insufficient for substantiating an academic integrity violation and fails to meet the burden of proof required by university regulations. Finally, an approach that involves discussing the alleged misconduct with other applicants or unauthorized university staff before a formal investigation is complete constitutes a breach of confidentiality and could prejudice the investigation. This action undermines the integrity of the process and potentially violates privacy regulations. Professional reasoning. Professionals in university admissions and academic affairs must adopt a decision-making process that is guided by established policies, ethical principles, and legal requirements. This involves 1. Identifying the alleged misconduct and its potential impact. 2. Consulting relevant university policies and procedures for academic integrity and entrance examinations. 3. Gathering all available evidence objectively and systematically. 4. Providing the accused student with clear notification of the allegations and an opportunity to respond. 5. Conducting a fair and impartial review of the evidence and the student's response. 6. Making a decision based on the findings and in accordance with established disciplinary guidelines. 7. Documenting all steps of the process thoroughly. Question 2. Which approach would be most appropriate for an applicant to Aichi University of Technology when encountering an ambiguous instruction within the entrance examination materials that could significantly impact their response? Option A. Infer the intended meaning of the instruction by considering how similar instructions have been interpreted in previous examinations or at other institutions. Option B. Assume the most common interpretation of the instruction based on general knowledge of university entrance exams and proceed accordingly. Option C. Ignore the ambiguous instruction and complete the examination based on the parts that are clearly understood, hoping the ambiguity will not be a significant factor. Option D. Proactively seek clarification from the examination proctor or the university's admissions office regarding the ambiguous instruction. The correct answer is D. Proactively seek clarification from the examination proctor or the university's admissions office regarding the ambiguous instruction. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires an applicant to demonstrate an understanding of the ethical and regulatory considerations inherent in academic admissions, specifically within the context of a Japanese university entrance examination. The applicant must navigate the potential for bias and ensure fairness, adhering to the principles of academic integrity and the specific guidelines of Aichi University of Technology. Careful judgment is required to select an approach that upholds these values. The correct approach involves proactively seeking clarification on any perceived ambiguities in the examination materials or instructions. This demonstrates a commitment to understanding the requirements accurately and ethically, preventing potential misinterpretations that could lead to an unfair advantage or disadvantage. This aligns with the general principles of academic integrity, which emphasize honesty and fairness in all academic endeavors, and implicitly with any university's commitment to a transparent and equitable admissions process. By seeking clarification, the applicant acts responsibly and ethically, ensuring their engagement with the examination is based on a clear understanding of the rules. An incorrect approach that involves assuming the meaning of unclear instructions without verification is professionally unacceptable. This can lead to a violation of examination rules, even if unintentional, and undermines the principle of fairness. Suggests a lack of diligence and a willingness to proceed without ensuring full comprehension, which is contrary to the ethical standards expected of academic candidates. Another incorrect approach, such as attempting to infer the examiner's intentions based on past experiences or anecdotal information, is also professionally unsound. This introduces subjective bias and speculation into the process, moving away from objective adherence to the stated regulation. It risks misinterpreting the specific requirements of the Aichi University of Technology entrance exam, which may differ from other institutions or previous years. Finally, an approach that involves ignoring unclear instructions and proceeding with the examination as best as possible is ethically flawed. This demonstrates a disregard for the importance of precise adherence to rules and can lead to an invalid or unfair assessment. It suggests a lack of respect for the examination process and the institution's standards. Professionals in academic and admissions settings should adopt a decision-making framework that prioritizes clarity, fairness, and adherence to established guidelines. When faced with ambiguity, the first step should always be to seek official clarification from the relevant authority. This proactive and transparent approach ensures that all participants are operating under the same understanding, thereby upholding the integrity of the process. Question 3. Implementation of a student's response to an examination question requires strict adherence to the specified regulatory framework. If an Aichi University of Technology entrance exam question explicitly states that all answers must be based only on the regulatory framework, laws, and guidelines for that specific exam, which of the following approaches best demonstrates understanding of this requirement? Option A. Consulting and applying regulations from the student's previous high school curriculum, assuming they are universally applicable. Option B. Incorporating general academic principles and common best practices applicable to university entrance exams across various institutions. Option C. Prioritizing and exclusively referencing the regulatory framework, laws, and guidelines explicitly designated for the Aichi University of Technology entrance exam. Option D. Drawing upon knowledge of international educational standards and best practices for examination integrity. The correct answer is C. Prioritizing and exclusively referencing the regulatory framework, laws, and guidelines explicitly designated for the Aichi University of Technology entrance exam. Explanation. The scenario presents a challenge for prospective students of Aichi University of Technology regarding the interpretation and application of entrance examination regulations. Specifically, it tests their understanding of how to approach questions that require adherence to a defined regulatory framework. The professional challenge lies in accurately identifying and applying the correct set of rules, which in this case are exclusively those pertaining to the Aichi University of Technology entrance exam. Misinterpreting or applying external or generic regulations would lead to an incorrect response, demonstrating a failure to grasp the critical importance of jurisdictional compliance in academic and professional settings. The correct approach involves a meticulous focus on the specified examination's regulatory framework. This means understanding that any question posed within the context of the Aichi University of Technology entrance exam must be answered solely by referencing the rules, guidelines, and laws directly applicable to that specific examination. This demonstrates a fundamental understanding of how to operate within defined parameters, a crucial skill for any student entering a specialized academic program or a professional field. Adherence to the specified jurisdiction is paramount, ensuring that the answer is relevant and correct according to the examination's own standards. An incorrect approach would involve referencing or applying regulations from outside the Aichi University of Technology entrance exam framework. This could include general academic principles, regulations from other universities, or even laws from different countries. Such an approach fails to recognize the absolute priority of the specified jurisdiction. Ethically, it demonstrates a lack of diligence and an inability to follow instructions precisely. Professionally, it signifies a potential for misapplication of rules in future academic or work environments, leading to errors and noncompliance. The professional decision-making process for similar situations requires a systematic approach. 1. Identify the explicit scope and jurisdiction of the question or task. 2. Disregard any information or regulations not explicitly stated as relevant to that scope. 3. Prioritize the specified regulatory framework above all else. 4. If ambiguity exists within the specified framework, seek clarification from the authoritative source. 5. Apply the identified rules consistently and accurately. Question 4. System analysis indicates that Aichi University of Technology is seeking to optimize its student admissions process to improve efficiency. Considering the university's commitment to fostering a diverse and inclusive student body, which of the following approaches best aligns with both process optimization and ethical considerations for admissions? Option A. Conducting a comprehensive review of the current admissions workflow to identify and address any criteria or steps that may inadvertently create barriers for applicants from underrepresented socioeconomic or geographic backgrounds, while ensuring the integrity of the evaluation process. Option B. Implementing a new, streamlined online application portal that requires all applicants to upload scanned academic transcripts and standardized test scores, with no alternative submission methods. Option C. Reducing the number of admission staff to cut operational costs, thereby shortening the time available for individual applicant inquiries and support. Option D. Automating the initial screening of applications based solely on a narrow set of quantitative metrics, without considering qualitative aspects of an applicant's profile or potential. The correct answer is B. Implementing a new, streamlined online application portal that requires all applicants to upload scanned academic transcripts and standardized test scores, with no alternative submission methods. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a challenge in balancing the university's need for efficient resource allocation with the ethical imperative to provide equitable access to educational opportunities. The pressure to optimize processes, such as admissions or course scheduling, can inadvertently create barriers for certain student demographics if not carefully managed. The professional challenge lies in identifying and mitigating potential biases within these optimization efforts, ensuring that efficiency gains do not come at the cost of fairness or compliance with university policies and relevant educational guidelines. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough review of existing admission processes to identify potential bottlenecks or criteria that might disproportionately disadvantage applicants from specific socioeconomic backgrounds or regions. This proactive analysis, aligned with Aichi University of Technology's commitment to diversity and inclusion, as outlined in its institutional mission, and any publicly available admissions guidelines, ensures that process optimization serves to enhance accessibility rather than restrict it. By focusing on data-driven insights and seeking feedback from diverse student groups, the university can implement changes that are both efficient and equitable, adhering to the spirit of fair access to higher education. Incorrect approach is analysis, an approach that prioritizes solely cost reduction in the admissions department without considering the impact on applicant experience or accessibility, fails to uphold the university's ethical obligations. This could lead to reduced support for applicants who require assistance, potentially deterring qualified individuals. An approach that focuses on streamlining the application process by removing certain optional fields or documentation, without assessing whether these elements are crucial for evaluating a diverse applicant pool, risks overlooking valuable information that could support applications from less traditional backgrounds. This could inadvertently favor applicants who are already familiar with standard application formats. An approach that implements a new, complex online application system without providing adequate technical support or alternative application methods for applicants with limited digital literacy or access creates an unnecessary barrier. This directly contradicts the principle of equitable access and could violate any university guidelines promoting digital inclusion. Professional reasoning. Professionals tasked with process optimization in an educational setting must adopt a framework that integrates efficiency with ethical considerations and adherence to institutional policies. This involves 1. Understanding the university's mission and values, particularly regarding access and equity. 2. Conducting a comprehensive impact assessment of any proposed changes, considering all stakeholder groups. 3. Prioritizing solutions that enhance both efficiency and fairness. 4. Seeking diverse perspectives and feedback throughout the optimization process. 5. Ensuring transparency and clear communication regarding any changes. Question 5. During the evaluation of an applicant's submission for the Aichi University of Technology entrance exam, an evaluator notices significant similarities between the applicant's essay and publicly available online content, raising concerns about potential plagiarism. The evaluator is aware of the university's strict policies against academic dishonesty. What is the most appropriate course of action for the evaluator to take? Option A. Overlook the similarities due to the high volume of applications and the need to complete evaluations within the given time frame. Option B. Submit the essay for further review by a plagiarism detection software without informing the applicant or taking any immediate action. Option C. Disqualify the applicant immediately based on the suspicion of plagiarism to maintain the integrity of the examination process. Option D. Directly inform the applicant about the suspected plagiarism, explain the university's policy on academic integrity, and request an explanation for the similarities before proceeding with the evaluation. The correct answer is D. Directly inform the applicant about the suspected plagiarism, explain the university's policy on academic integrity, and request an explanation for the similarities before proceeding with the evaluation. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic advancement and the university's commitment to academic integrity and fair evaluation. The pressure to perform well in entrance exams can lead to unethical shortcuts. Careful judgment is required to uphold the principles of honesty and fairness, while also considering the student's circumstances. The correct approach involves a direct and transparent communication with the student regarding the university's policies on academic misconduct and the consequences of submitting plagiarized work. This aligns with the Aichi University of Technology's commitment to academic integrity, which is a fundamental principle in higher education. By addressing the issue directly and explaining the university's stance, the evaluator upholds ethical standards and ensures a fair process for all applicants. This approach also provides the student with an opportunity to understand the gravity of their actions and the importance of original work. An incorrect approach would be to ignore the suspected plagiarism. This failure to act would undermine the university's academic standards and create an unfair advantage for the student in question, potentially disadvantaging other honest applicants. It would also set a dangerous precedent, signaling that academic dishonesty may go unaddressed. Another incorrect approach would be to immediately disqualify the student without further investigation or communication. While plagiarism is a serious offense, A fair process typically involves an opportunity for the applicant to respond to allegations. Such an immediate disqualification could be seen as overly punitive and lacking due process, potentially leading to appeals or reputational damage for the university. A third incorrect approach would be to accept the work as is, perhaps due to time constraints or a desire to avoid confrontation. This would be a direct violation of academic integrity principles and would compromise the validity of the entrance examination process. It demonstrates a lack of professional responsibility and a disregard for the university's ethical obligations. Professionals in this situation should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes adherence to established university policies and ethical guidelines. This involves 1. Identifying the potential violation, plagiarism; 2. Consulting relevant university regulations and guidelines concerning academic integrity and the examination process; 3. Gathering evidence to support the suspicion; 4. Communicating concerns and findings to the student in a clear and objective manner, providing them with an opportunity to explain; 5. Following the prescribed disciplinary procedures if the evidence warrants it, ensuring fairness and consistency. Question 6. The evaluation methodology shows that a candidate for the Aichi University of Technology entrance exam has inadvertently received information that appears to be actual exam questions from a previous year, which they believe might be reused. What is the most ethically and regulatorily sound approach for this candidate to take? Option A. Discard the information and proceed with their original study plan without mentioning the incident to anyone. Option B. Use the information to prepare for the exam, as it represents an opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge more effectively. Option C. Refrain from using the information and immediately report its existence and nature to the Aichi University of Technology admissions office. Option D. Share the information with a few trusted friends who are also applying to the university to help them prepare. The correct answer is B. Use the information to prepare for the exam, as it represents an opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge more effectively. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic success and the university's commitment to academic integrity and fair evaluation. The pressure to perform well on an entrance exam, especially for a prestigious institution like Aichi University of Technology, can lead individuals to consider unethical shortcuts. The core of the challenge lies in upholding ethical standards and institutional rules when faced with a temptation that promises a perceived advantage. Careful judgment is required to navigate this situation without compromising personal integrity or the integrity of the examination process. The correct approach involves recognizing the ethical implications of possessing unauthorized information and acting with integrity by not using it. This aligns with the fundamental ethical principles of honesty and fairness, which are paramount in academic and professional settings. Specifically, within the context of Aichi University of Technology's entrance exam regulations, any form of academic dishonesty, including the use of pre-obtained exam content, would be a direct violation of their academic integrity policy. Such a policy would likely emphasize that all candidates must demonstrate their knowledge and abilities through their own efforts, without external assistance or prior knowledge of the exam's content. Adhering to this principle ensures a level playing field for all applicants and upholds the credibility of the university's admissions process. An incorrect approach would be to utilize the leaked information. This action constitutes academic dishonesty, a severe ethical and regulatory breach. It undermines the fairness of the examination by giving an unfair advantage to the individual who possesses the information, thereby disadvantaging other candidates who have prepared diligently and ethically. This directly contravenes the spirit and letter of any academic integrity policy, which aims to ensure that admissions are based on merit and genuine understanding. Furthermore, such an act could lead to severe penalties, including disqualification from the entrance exam, rescission of any offer of admission, and potential damage to the individual's academic record and future prospects. Another incorrect approach would be to ignore the leaked information but not report it. While this avoids direct participation in academic dishonesty, it fails to uphold the broader ethical responsibility to maintain the integrity of the examination process. Universities typically expect candidates to act as responsible members of the academic community. By not reporting the leak, the individual implicitly allows the unfair advantage to persist for others who might use it, thereby indirectly contributing to the erosion of academic integrity. This inaction can be seen as a failure to uphold the ethical duty of candor and to protect the fairness of the system. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of ethical principles and institutional regulations. First, one must identify the ethical dilemma and the potential consequences of different actions. Second, consult relevant university policies and codes of conduct to understand the specific rules and expectations. Third, prioritize honesty, integrity, and fairness in decision-making. In this case, the most ethical and professionally responsible action is to refrain from using the leaked information and to report the incident to the appropriate university authorities, allowing them to address the breach and maintain the integrity of the examination. Question 7. Performance analysis shows a statistically significant cluster of unusually high scores on a specific section of the Aichi University of Technology entrance examination, exhibiting identical error patterns across multiple applicants from the same preparatory institution. According to the Aichi University of Technology's official entrance examination regulations and academic integrity guidelines, what is the most appropriate immediate course of action? Option A. Acknowledge the anomaly but proceed with admissions as planned, assuming the scores are a result of effective preparation methods. Option B. Initiate a formal investigation into potential academic misconduct, gathering all relevant documentation and consulting the university's established disciplinary procedures for entrance examinations. Option C. Request a review of the examination questions from the affected section to determine if there were any inherent biases or ambiguities. Option D. Immediately disqualify all students exhibiting the unusual scoring pattern to maintain the integrity of the examination process. The correct answer is B. Initiate a formal investigation into potential academic misconduct, gathering all relevant documentation, and consulting the university's established disciplinary procedures for entrance examinations. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the university's stated commitment to academic integrity with the practical realities of student performance and the potential for academic misconduct. The entrance exam is a critical gateway, and ensuring its fairness and validity is paramount. Careful judgment is needed to avoid both overly punitive measures that could unfairly disadvantage students and overly lenient approaches that could compromise the integrity of the admissions process. The correct approach involves a thorough and impartial investigation into the observed performance anomaly. This means gathering all relevant data, including the specific patterns identified in the performance analysis, and comparing them against established norms and previous exam data. The next step is to consult the Aichi University of Technology's official regulations and guidelines concerning academic integrity and entrance exam procedures. This approach is correct because it adheres to the university's own established framework for addressing potential irregularities. It prioritizes fairness by seeking objective evidence and following due process, as mandated by the university's internal rules, which are designed to uphold academic standards and prevent unfair advantages. An incorrect approach would be to immediately assume misconduct and disqualify the students without further investigation. This fails to uphold the principle of innocent until proven guilty and bypasses the university's established procedures for handling such matters. It could lead to wrongful accusations and damage the university's reputation for fairness. Another incorrect approach would be to ignore the performance anomaly altogether, citing a desire to avoid controversy or to meet admission targets. This directly undermines the university's commitment to academic integrity and could allow students who gained an unfair advantage to be admitted, thereby devaluing the qualifications of other admitted students and the university's overall standing. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured approach. First, clearly identify the observed issue and its potential implications. Second, consult all relevant internal policies, regulations, and ethical guidelines specific to the institution and the situation. Third, gather objective evidence to support or refute the initial observation. Fourth, engage in a fair and impartial investigation process, ensuring due process for all involved. Finally, make a decision based on the evidence and in strict accordance with the established regulatory framework. Question 8. System analysis indicates that a prospective applicant for the Aichi University of Technology entrance examination, whom you know personally, expresses significant anxiety about the upcoming test, and asks for any tips or hints on what specific topics or question types are most likely to appear, stating that they are struggling to cover all the material comprehensively. Option A. Discreetly share a few examples of question types that have appeared in previous year's exams, assuring the applicant that this is not official information, but a helpful suggestion. Option B. Provide the applicant with a list of subjects that are heavily weighted in the exam, suggesting they focus their study efforts on those areas. Option C. Politely decline to provide any specific information about the examination content or format, explaining that all applicants must be assessed on the same basis according to the university's established examination regulations. Option D. Advise the applicant to concentrate on memorizing specific formulas and definitions that are commonly tested, without mentioning any particular subject areas. Correct answer is C. Politely decline to provide any specific information about the examination content or format, explaining that all applicants must be assessed on the same basis according to the university's established examination regulations. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between academic integrity and the desire to support a student's potential. The university's entrance examination regulations, as stipulated by Aichi University of Technology, are designed to ensure a fair and equitable assessment process for all applicants. Deviating from these regulations, even with good intentions, undermines the validity of the examination and can lead to unfair advantages for some candidates. The correct approach involves strictly adhering to the established examination protocols. This means that all applicants must be assessed based on their performance in the examination itself, without any external influence or preferential treatment. This aligns with the ethical principles of fairness, impartiality, and transparency that are fundamental to any academic institution's admission process. Specifically, Aichi University of Technology's entrance examination guidelines emphasize objective evaluation of candidates' academic capabilities through standardized testing. Providing advance information about the examination content or format to any candidate would violate these guidelines and compromise the integrity of the selection process. An incorrect approach would be to provide the student with advance information about the examination content. This action directly contravenes the Aichi University of Technology's entrance examination regulations, which mandate that all examination materials and content remain confidential until the scheduled examination time. Such a breach of confidentiality would create an unfair advantage for the student, undermining the principle of equal opportunity for all applicants. Furthermore, it would violate the ethical duty of impartiality expected of university staff, as it demonstrates favoritism and compromises the integrity of the admission process. Another incorrect approach would be to subtly hint at the types of questions that might appear without revealing specific content. While seemingly less direct, this still constitutes providing an unfair advantage. The Aichi University of Technology's regulations aim for a level playing field, and any form of guidance that helps a specific student prepare for the exam in a way that others cannot is a violation. This can be seen as a form of academic misconduct, as it manipulates the assessment process. A third incorrect approach would be to suggest that the student focus on specific subjects without revealing the exact topics. This also creates an unfair advantage. The entrance examination is designed to assess a broad range of knowledge and skills. Directing a student to disproportionately focus on certain areas, even without explicit content disclosure, can lead to a skewed preparation and an unfair advantage over those who prepare more broadly, as per the general examination guidelines. Professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a clear understanding and unwavering commitment to the university's established regulations and ethical codes. When faced with a request or situation that could compromise these principles, a professional should 1. Identify the core ethical and regulatory conflict. 2. Consult the relevant university policies and examination guidelines. 3. Prioritize adherence to these established rules. 4. Politely but firmly decline any action that would violate these regulations, explaining that the university's commitment to fairness and integrity must be upheld. 5. If necessary, seek guidance from superiors or the relevant university department responsible for admissions and examinations. Question 9. The efficiency study reveals that the current admissions review process at Aichi University of Technology is time-consuming and resource-intensive. A proposal is put forth to streamline the process by introducing automated initial screening based on a limited set of quantifiable metrics, with a reduced emphasis on qualitative assessments during this initial phase. This aims to significantly reduce the number of applications requiring in-depth human review, considering the university's commitment to fair and equitable admissions as outlined in its internal regulations. Which of the following approaches best balances efficiency with these core principles? Option A. Delegate the entire screening process to an external vendor specializing in high-speed data processing, with minimal oversight from the university to ensure cost-effectiveness and speed. Option B. Immediately adopt the automated screening system as proposed, focusing on maximizing the reduction in processing time and resources, with the understanding that any issues arising from this will be addressed reactively. Option C. Introduce the automated screening system, but limit the scope of human review to only those applications that pass the automated filter with exceptionally high scores, deeming lower scoring applications as automatically rejected to save time. Option D. Implement the automated screening system with a clear protocol for human review of borderline cases and a mechanism for applicants to request reconsideration of initial automated decisions, ensuring all qualitative aspects are considered in subsequent stages. The correct answer is D. Implement the automated screening system with a clear protocol for human review of borderline cases and a mechanism for applicants to request reconsideration of initial automated decisions, ensuring all qualitative aspects are considered in subsequent stages. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the university's operational efficiency goals with the ethical imperative to ensure fair and transparent admission processes. The pressure to improve efficiency, often driven by resource constraints or performance metrics, can inadvertently lead to the erosion of established procedural fairness. Careful judgment is required to identify and mitigate potential biases or unintended consequences of efficiency-driven changes. The correct approach involves a thorough review of the proposed changes against the Aichi University of Technology's established admission regulations and ethical guidelines. This approach prioritizes adherence to the spirit and letter of the regulations, ensuring that any efficiency measures do not compromise the integrity or fairness of the admission process. Specifically, it requires verifying that the proposed changes do not introduce subjective biases, create unequal opportunities for applicants, or circumvent established appeal mechanisms, all of which are fundamental to maintaining trust and credibility in the university's admission. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the speed of processing, without considering the impact on fairness, would fail to uphold the university's commitment to equitable admissions. This could lead to overlooking qualified candidates or unfairly disadvantaging others, thereby violating principles of procedural justice and potentially contravening internal university policies designed to prevent discrimination. Another incorrect approach that involves implementing changes without proper consultation or documentation risks creating an environment where decisions are perceived as arbitrary or lacking accountability. This undermines the transparency expected in academic admissions and could lead to disputes and reputational damage for the university. A further incorrect approach that prioritizes cost reduction above all else, even at the expense of thorough review or applicant support, demonstrates a failure to recognize that the admission process is not merely an administrative function, but a critical gateway that impacts individuals' futures and the university's standing. This approach neglects the ethical obligation to treat all applicants with respect and diligence. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured assessment of proposed changes. This includes 1. Identifying the objective of the change, e.g., efficiency. 2. Evaluating the potential impact on all stakeholders, particularly applicants. 3. Cross-referencing the proposed change with all relevant university regulation, policies, and ethical codes. 4. Seeking input from relevant departments and potentially legal counsel if ambiguities arise. 5. Documenting the decision-making process and the rationale for any changes implemented. This systematic approach ensures that efficiency gains are achieved responsibly and ethically. Question 10. The monitoring system demonstrates a significant drop in student interaction with supplementary online learning materials for a particular course. Several students are showing minimal to no recorded activity. What is the most appropriate initial course of action for the academic department? Option A. Initiate a review of the monitoring system's data integrity and cross-reference with student feedback channels to identify potential technical or accessibility issues before considering any student-specific interventions. Option B. Assume the students are disengaged and reduce the allocation of supplementary resources for the course, reallocating them to more active student groups. Option C. Immediately place the students with low interaction rates on an academic warning list, requiring them to attend mandatory remediation sessions. Option D. Disregard the data as potentially unreliable and focus solely on traditional in-class performance metrics for student evaluation. The correct answer is A. Initiate a review of the monitoring system's data integrity and cross-reference with student feedback channels to identify potential technical or accessibility issues before considering any student-specific interventions. Explanation. The scenario presents a challenge in interpreting data from a university's academic monitoring system, specifically concerning student engagement with online learning resources. The core difficulty lies in distinguishing between genuine academic disengagement and potential technical or accessibility issues that might prevent students from accessing or interacting with the materials. A professional decision-maker must avoid making premature judgments about student performance or effort based solely on incomplete or potentially misleading system data. The correct approach involves a multifaceted investigation that prioritizes understanding the root cause of the observed data patterns. This includes verifying the accuracy of the monitoring system itself, cross-referencing data with other available information, such as student feedback or direct communication, and considering external factors that might influence student behavior. Ethically, this approach upholds principles of fairness and due process by ensuring that any interventions or conclusions drawn are based on a comprehensive and accurate understanding of the situation, rather than assumptions. This aligns with the general principles of academic integrity and student support expected within educational institutions. An incorrect approach would be to immediately flag students for academic probation or disciplinary action based solely on the monitoring system's output. This fails to acknowledge the possibility of system errors or external circumstances, leading to potentially unfair consequences for students. Another incorrect approach is to ignore the data entirely, assuming it is flawed without investigation. This neglects the university's responsibility to monitor academic progress and identify students who may genuinely require support. A third incorrect approach is to focus solely on the technical aspects of the system, without considering the pedagogical implications or student experience, thereby missing opportunities to improve the learning environment. Professionals should employ a structured decision-making process that begins with data validation, moves to hypothesis generation about potential causes, and then proceeds to targeted investigation and verification. This iterative process ensures that conclusions are evidence-based and that interventions are appropriate and equitable. Question 11. The monitoring system demonstrates a consistent pattern of minor fluctuations in student engagement metrics across several online learning platforms used by Aichi University of Technology. These fluctuations are within a range previously identified as normal operational variance, but a recent, isolated dip in one specific course's participation rate is more pronounced than usual. Considering the university's commitment to data-driven academic support and its established protocols for identifying and addressing student welfare concerns, which of the following represents the most appropriate initial response? Option A. Immediately escalate the pronounced dip in the specific course to the student support services as a critical issue requiring urgent intervention for all students in that course. Option B. Conduct a broad survey of all students across multiple courses to gauge their general satisfaction with online learning, using the pronounced dip as a general indicator of widespread dissatisfaction. Option C. Initiate a detailed review of the specific course's engagement data, cross-referencing it with the course instructor's feedback and the platform's technical logs to determine the cause of the pronounced dip, while continuing to monitor general engagement trends. Option D. Disregard the pronounced dip in the specific course as it is an isolated incident and the overall engagement metrics remain within acceptable parameters. The correct answer is C. Initiate a detailed review of the specific course's engagement data, cross-referencing it with the course instructor's feedback and the platform's technical logs to determine the cause of the pronounced dip, while continuing to monitor general engagement trends. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the potential for misinterpreting data from a monitoring system, which could lead to incorrect academic or administrative decisions. The core difficulty lies in distinguishing between genuine anomalies that require intervention and normal operational fluctuations that do not. Careful judgment is required to ensure that resources are allocated effectively and that students are not unfairly impacted by misinterpretations. The correct approach involves a systematic review of the monitoring system's data, cross-referencing it with established performance benchmarks and contextual factors relevant to Aichi University of Technology's academic programs. This approach is professionally sound because it adheres to principles of evidence-based decision-making, a cornerstone of academic administration. Specifically, it aligns with the university's internal guidelines for academic monitoring, which likely mandate the use of verified data and establish thresholds for flagging concerns. Furthermore, it upholds ethical obligations to students by ensuring that any interventions are based on objective, validated information, preventing undue stress or disadvantage. An approach that immediately flags all deviations as critical errors fails to acknowledge the inherent variability in data and the possibility of system glitches or external influences. This is a regulatory failure, as it bypasses the established protocols for data validation and anomaly detection, potentially leading to unnecessary investigations and resource misallocation. Ethically, it risks creating a climate of undue scrutiny and anxiety for faculty and students. Another incorrect approach, which involves ignoring data that deviates from the norm without further investigation, represents a failure to uphold the university's duty of care and its commitment to academic quality. This is a regulatory and ethical lapse because it neglects the purpose of a monitoring system, which is to identify potential issues before they escalate. It also fails to meet the expectation of proactive management and continuous improvement inherent in academic institutions. A further incorrect approach, which relies solely on anecdotal evidence or personal observation to interpret the monitoring system's output, is professionally unacceptable. This is a significant regulatory failure as it disregards the objective data provided by the system and substitutes it with subjective interpretations. Ethically, it is flawed because it can lead to biased decisions and unfair treatment, undermining the principles of transparency and objectivity. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured approach. First, understand the purpose and limitations of the monitoring system. Second, establish clear, data-driven thresholds for identifying potential issues. Third, implement a multi-stage verification process that includes cross-referencing with other data sources and seeking expert input. Fourth, ensure that any actions taken are proportionate to the identified issue and are communicated transparently. Finally, regularly review and refine the monitoring and response protocols based on performance and feedback. Question 12. Cost-benefit analysis shows that a new AI-powered grading system for Aichi University of Technology could significantly reduce faculty workload and improve grading efficiency. However, concerns have been raised about the system's potential to introduce bias in assessments and the privacy implications of student data processing. Considering the regulatory framework and ethical guidelines applicable to Japanese educational institutions, which approach best navigates this decision? Option A. Delegate the decision solely to the IT department, trusting their technical expertise to manage any risks associated with the new system. Option B. Implement the AI grading system immediately to capitalize on the efficiency gains, with a plan to address any identified issues retrospectively. Option C. Reject the AI grading system outright due to the potential for bias and privacy concerns, opting to maintain current manual grading processes. Option D. Conduct a thorough pilot program with a diverse group of courses and students, involving faculty, IT security, and legal experts to assess bias, data privacy, and pedagogical impact before full-scale adoption. The correct answer is B. Implement the AI grading system immediately to capitalize on the efficiency gains, with a plan to address any identified issues retrospectively. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the immediate financial benefits of a new technology against potential long-term ethical and regulatory implications, particularly within the context of an educational institution like Aichi University of Technology. The decision-making process must prioritize the university's core mission of education and research, while also adhering to Japanese educational regulations and ethical guidelines concerning data privacy and academic integrity. A careful judgment is required to ensure that any adoption of new technology aligns with these fundamental principles and does not create unforeseen risks. The correct approach involves a comprehensive risk assessment that extends beyond immediate cost savings. This includes evaluating the technology's impact on student learning, data security, and compliance with relevant Japanese laws such as the Act on the Protection of Personal Information. It also necessitates considering the ethical implications of using AI in an academic setting, ensuring transparency, fairness, and the avoidance of bias. This approach is right because it demonstrates a commitment to responsible innovation and upholds the trust placed in the university by students, faculty, and the public. It aligns with the ethical principles of educational institutions to foster a secure and equitable learning environment. An incorrect approach would be to solely focus on the cost-benefit analysis without adequately considering the qualitative and ethical dimensions. For instance, prioritizing the technology solely based on its perceived efficiency gains, without a thorough review of its potential to compromise student privacy or academic integrity, would be a significant ethical and regulatory failure. This overlooks the university's duty of care and its obligations under Japanese data protection laws. Another incorrect approach would be to adopt the technology without consulting relevant stakeholders, such as faculty, IT security experts, and legal counsel. This lack of due diligence can lead to the implementation of systems that are not fit for purpose, pose security risks, or violate established academic policies and ethical standards. Such an approach disregards the collaborative nature of academic decision-making and the importance of diverse perspectives in mitigating risks. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with clearly defining the problem and objectives. This is followed by identifying all potential solutions and then conducting a thorough analysis of each, considering not only financial costs and benefits, but also ethical implications, regulatory compliance, stakeholder impact, and long-term sustainability. A critical step is to consult relevant internal policies, external regulations, and expert advice. Finally, the decision should be documented, and a plan for monitoring and evaluation should be established. Question 13. Investigation of potential improvements to the Aichi University of Technology Entrance Examination Administration process, focusing on streamlining applicant data management and communication, while strictly adhering to the university's established examination regulations and guidelines. Option A. Adopt a widely recognized international standard for university admissions processing, assuming its efficiency will automatically benefit the Aichi University of Technology entrance examination. Option B. Introduce a simplified, faster application form that reduces the number of required fields based on general best practices for online forms, without a detailed review of Aichi University of Technology's specific documentation. Option C. Suggest outsourcing the entire applicant data management and communication system to a third-party vendor that specializes in general recruitment, without first confirming their adherence to Aichi University of Technology's specific entrance examination regulations. Option D. Propose and implement a new digital platform for applicant data management and communication, ensuring all features and workflows are designed to directly comply with and enhance the existing Aichi University of Technology entrance examination regulatory framework. The correct answer is D. Propose and implement a new digital platform for applicant data management and communication, ensuring all features and workflows are designed to directly comply with and enhance the existing Aichi University of Technology entrance examination regulatory framework. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between optimizing a university's entrance examination process for efficiency and fairness, while strictly adhering to the established regulatory framework, laws, and guidelines of Aichi University of Technology. The need for careful judgment arises from ensuring that any proposed optimization does not inadvertently violate the spirit or letter of these specific examination regulations, which are paramount for maintaining the integrity and credibility of the admission process. The correct approach involves a thorough review and understanding of the Aichi University of Technology's specific entrance examination regulations. This approach prioritizes compliance by identifying areas within the existing framework where process improvements can be implemented without altering fundamental admission criteria or procedures. The regulatory justification lies in the absolute priority given to the exam-specific framework. Ethical justification stems from upholding fairness and transparency for all applicants, ensuring a level playing field as dictated by the university's own rules. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on speed and efficiency without consulting the Aichi University of Technology's specific regulations would fail to meet the absolute priority requirement. This would be a regulatory failure, because it disregards the defined legal and procedural boundaries for the examination. Ethically, it risks creating an unfair advantage or disadvantage for certain applicants, undermining the principle of equal opportunity. Another incorrect approach that involves adopting best practices from other universities or general process optimization models without verifying their compatibility with Aichi University of Technology's specific rules is also problematic. This constitutes a regulatory failure by introducing external standards that may not align with or could even contradict the university's established framework. Ethically, it demonstrates a lack of due diligence and respect for the specific jurisdiction's requirements, potentially leading to procedural irregularities. A professional decision-making process for similar situations should begin with a comprehensive understanding of the governing regulatory framework. This involves actively seeking out and meticulously studying the Aichi University of Technology's entrance examination laws, regulations, and guidelines. Subsequently, potential process improvements should be evaluated strictly against these established rules. Any proposed changes must be demonstrably compliant and, where necessary, require formal approval within the university's governance structure. The focus should always be on enhancing efficiency and fairness within the defined parameters, rather than seeking to redefine them without proper authority. Question 14. The risk matrix shows a moderate risk of admitting an applicant whose submitted documentation is borderline and could be interpreted in multiple ways regarding their eligibility for the Aichi University of Technology entrance examination. Which of the following approaches best mitigates this risk while adhering to the university's admission framework? Option A. Defer the admission decision until the applicant can provide additional extracurricular achievements that are not part of the standard application requirements. Option B. Conduct a thorough review of the applicant's submitted documents against the explicit academic criteria and program-specific requirements outlined in the Aichi University of Technology entrance examination regulations. And if any ambiguity persists, seek formal clarification from the admissions committee. Option C. Make an admission decision based on a general impression of the applicant's motivation and perceived suitability for university life, without a detailed examination of their academic qualifications against the entrance exam criteria. Option D. Admit the applicant based on a strong recommendation from a senior faculty member who believes the applicant has high potential, even if their documentation doesn't fully meet all stated criteria. The correct answer is B. Conduct a thorough review of the applicant's submitted documents against the explicit academic criteria and program-specific requirements outlined in the Aichi University of Technology entrance examination regulations. And if any ambiguity persists, seek formal clarification from the admissions committee. Explanation. The scenario presents a challenge in balancing the university's commitment to academic integrity with the practicalities of managing student admissions under potentially ambiguous circumstances. The core professional challenge lies in interpreting and applying the university's admission guidelines, which are implicitly governed by the principles of fairness, transparency, and adherence to established procedures. As would be expected in any reputable educational institution's entrance examination framework, the risk matrix highlights potential areas of concern, such as the possibility of misinterpretation of applicant qualifications or the risk of overlooking critical information that could impact admission decisions. Careful judgment is required to ensure that decisions are not only compliant with the stated guidelines, but also ethically sound, upholding the reputation of Aichi University of Technology. The correct approach involves a thorough review of the applicant's documentation against the explicit criteria outlined in the Aichi University of Technology entrance examination regulations. This approach prioritizes adherence to established procedures and objective assessment. Specifically, it requires cross-referencing the applicant's submitted materials with the defined academic prerequisites and any specific requirements for the program they are applying to. This aligns with the fundamental principle of fair and equitable assessment, ensuring that all applicants are evaluated on the same basis and that admission decisions are defensible and transparent. The regulatory framework for university entrance exams, while not explicitly detailed here, universally mandates such a systematic and criterion-based evaluation to maintain academic standards and prevent arbitrary decisions. An incorrect approach would be to make an admission decision based on a subjective assessment of the applicant's potential or perceived fit for the university, without a clear link to the documented qualifications and the entrance exam criteria. This fails to adhere to the established regulatory framework for entrance examinations, which demands objective evaluation. Such an approach risks introducing bias and undermines the principle of equal opportunity for all applicants. Another incorrect approach would be to defer the decision indefinitely or to request additional, non-standard documentation that is not part of the established application process. This deviates from the procedural guidelines of the entrance examination, potentially causing undue delay for the applicant and creating an inconsistent admission process. It also suggests an inability or unwillingness to apply the existing regulations, which is professionally unsound. Finally, an incorrect approach would be to admit the applicant based on a recommendation from a faculty member, without a rigorous review of their qualifications against the entrance exam criteria. While faculty input can be valuable, it should not supersede the established admission procedures. This bypasses the formal assessment process, potentially compromising the integrity of the admissions and setting a precedent for preferential treatment, which is ethically and regulatorily problematic. The professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a systematic review of the applicant's file against the Aichi University of Technology entrance examination guidelines. If ambiguities exist, the next step should be to consult the official interpretation of these guidelines or seek clarification from the relevant admissions committee or department responsible for overseeing the entrance examination process. The focus must always remain on objective, documented evidence and adherence to established procedures to ensure fairness and maintain the credibility of the university's admissions. Question 15. The assessment process reveals that the admissions department at Aichi University of Technology is experiencing significant delays in processing applications due to manual data entry and a lack of standardized review protocols. To address this, a proposal has been made to implement a new system that automates initial application screening based on a simplified set of criteria, aiming to reduce processing time by 40%. Which of the following approaches best aligns with the principles of process optimization while upholding the integrity of the Aichi University of Technology's admission regulations? Option A. Develop a comprehensive digital workflow that integrates application submission, data verification, and standardized evaluation rubrics, allowing for efficient and consistent review by admissions officers, with provisions for human oversight on complex cases. Option B. Delegate the initial screening of applications to external temporary staff with minimal training, focusing solely on meeting speed targets for data input. Option C. Introduce a rapid, algorithm-driven screening tool that flags applications based on a limited number of quantitative metrics, with the assumption that this will significantly expedite the review process. Option D. Implement a system where admissions officers can bypass certain documentation checks if they feel confident in their assessment of a candidate's potential, prioritizing speed over strict adherence to procedural requirements. The correct answer is A. Develop a comprehensive digital workflow that integrates application submission, data verification, and standardized evaluation rubrics, allowing for efficient and consistent review by admissions officers, with provisions for human oversight on complex cases. Explanation. The assessment process reveals a common challenge in university admissions, balancing the need for efficient processing with the imperative to ensure fairness and adherence to established academic and ethical standards. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a nuanced understanding of the Aichi University of Technology's admission regulations, which are designed to uphold academic integrity and provide equal opportunity. The pressure to optimize processing times can inadvertently lead to shortcuts that compromise these fundamental principles. Careful judgment is required to identify and implement improvements that enhance efficiency without sacrificing the rigor and fairness of the admissions process. The correct approach involves a systematic review of the existing admissions workflow to identify bottlenecks and areas for improvement, followed by the implementation of targeted, data-driven changes that are aligned with Aichi University of Technology's stated admission policies and guidelines. This approach prioritizes maintaining the integrity of the evaluation process while seeking efficiencies. Specifically, it would involve analyzing the current stages of application review, identifying specific tasks that are time-consuming or prone to error, and proposing solutions such as digitalizing certain forms, standardizing evaluation criteria, or reallocating resources. Any proposed changes must be evaluated against the university's admission regulations to ensure they do not introduce bias, compromise the thoroughness of candidate assessment, or violate any established procedures for academic evaluation. This aligns with the ethical obligation to conduct admissions processes transparently and equitably, as implicitly required by the university's commitment to academic excellence and fair selection. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on reducing the time taken to review applications by implementing a superficial screening mechanism would be professionally unacceptable. This would fail to adhere to the Aichi University of Technology's admission regulations by potentially overlooking qualified candidates or admitting unqualified ones due to an oversimplified evaluation. Such an approach risks violating the principle of thorough academic assessment, which is a cornerstone of university admissions. Another incorrect approach, which involves prioritizing speed over accuracy by allowing admissions officers to make subjective judgments without clear, documented criteria, would also be a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This deviates from the university's established guidelines for objective evaluation and introduces an unacceptable level of personal bias, undermining the fairness and transparency of the admissions process. A third incorrect approach, such as automating the entire decision-making process without human oversight or validation, would also be problematic. While automation can improve efficiency, the Aichi University of Technology's admission regulations likely require a degree of human judgment and consideration of qualitative aspects of an application that cannot be fully captured by algorithms. This approach risks a loss of nuanced evaluation and could lead to decisions that do not reflect the university's holistic assessment standards. A professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured approach. First, thoroughly understand the existing regulatory framework and university policies. Second, identify the specific problem or inefficiency. Third, brainstorm potential solutions, evaluating each against the established regulations and ethical principles. Fourth, pilot and test the chosen solution, collecting data to assess its impact on both efficiency and fairness. Finally, implement the refined solution with ongoing monitoring and evaluation. This iterative and evidence-based process ensures that improvements are made responsibly and in full compliance with institutional requirements. Question 16. When evaluating potential process optimizations for the Aichi University of Technology entrance examination admissions, which of the following strategies best aligns with the university's commitment to fair and efficient candidate selection while adhering strictly to its established admission framework? Option A. Automating the initial screening of essays to filter out submissions based on keyword frequency without human review of content. Option B. Introducing a quota system for applicants from specific prefectures to expedite the review of a predetermined number of candidates. Option C. Implementing a tiered review system where applications with higher predicted scores are processed with greater speed and less scrutiny. Option D. Developing standardized digital checklists to ensure all required documents are present and correctly formatted before deeper qualitative assessment begins. Correct answer is C. Implementing a tiered review system where applications with higher predicted scores are processed with greater speed and less scrutiny. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge in balancing the need for efficient admissions processes with the ethical imperative to ensure fairness and adherence to Aichi University of Technology's established admission guidelines. The pressure to optimize processing times, while understandable, must not compromise the integrity of the selection process or violate any stated university policies regarding candidate evaluation. Careful judgment is required to identify methods that enhance efficiency without introducing bias or overlooking critical qualitative aspects of an applicant's profile. The correct approach involves a systematic review and refinement of existing admission workflows, focusing on identifying bottlenecks and implementing technology or procedural changes that streamline tasks without altering the core evaluation criteria. This approach is ethically sound and professionally responsible because it respects the established admission framework of Aichi University of Technology. It prioritizes improvements that are transparent, equitable, and aligned with the university's stated goals for selecting qualified candidates. By focusing on process optimization within the existing regulatory and policy framework, it avoids introducing subjective biases or shortcuts that could disadvantage applicants or misrepresent their suitability. An incorrect approach that relies on arbitrary weighting of certain application components without explicit university approval or a clear rationale based on academic merit or stated admission criteria is ethically flawed. This could lead to unintended discrimination and a violation of the university's commitment to a fair and objective admissions process. Another incorrect approach that involves reducing the depth of review for certain applicant pools, such as those from specific regions or educational backgrounds, is also ethically unacceptable. This practice introduces bias and fails to provide each applicant with an equal opportunity to demonstrate their qualifications, directly contravening principles of fairness and equity. A third incorrect approach that prioritizes speed over thoroughness, leading to the potential overlooking of crucial information or the misinterpretation of applicant submissions, undermines the very purpose of the admissions process and can result in the selection of less suitable candidates, thereby failing the university and the applicant pool. Professionals in admissions should employ a decision-making framework that begins with a thorough understanding of the university's admission policies, guidelines, and ethical standards. Any proposed process optimization should be evaluated against these established parameters. The process should involve identifying specific areas for improvement, proposing solutions that are data-driven and demonstrably enhance efficiency without compromising fairness, and seeking approval from relevant university committees or authorities before implementation. Continuous monitoring and evaluation of implemented changes are also crucial to ensure ongoing adherence to ethical and regulatory standards. Question 17. Benchmark analysis indicates that Aichi University of Technology is seeking to enhance the robustness and fairness of its entrance examination process. Which of the following approaches to risk assessment would best support this objective by proactively identifying and addressing potential vulnerabilities? Option A. An approach that focuses on the simplest and most easily quantifiable risks, even if it means overlooking more complex but potentially significant threats. Option B. A descriptive approach that documents existing security measures and procedures without actively seeking out new or emerging risks. Option C. An approach that primarily analyzes past examination results to identify trends and anomalies without considering future potential issues. Option D. A comprehensive approach that identifies potential threats to examination integrity and fairness, analyzes their likelihood and impact, and proposes mitigation strategies. The correct answer is D. A comprehensive approach that identifies potential threats to examination integrity and fairness, analyzes their likelihood and impact, and proposes mitigation strategies. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires an applicant to demonstrate an understanding of risk assessment principles within the specific context of university entrance examinations, as governed by Aichi University of Technology's established guidelines. The challenge lies in identifying the most appropriate risk assessment approach that aligns with the university's stated objectives for its entrance exams, which are to fairly evaluate candidates' potential and suitability for their programs. Careful judgment is required to distinguish between approaches that are merely descriptive and those that are proactive and aligned with the university's strategic goals for admissions. The correct approach involves a proactive and forward-looking assessment of potential risks to the integrity and fairness of the entrance examination process. This approach is right because it aligns with the principles of good governance and continuous improvement expected of an academic institution. By identifying potential risks such as examination security breaches, bias in question design, or unforeseen logistical issues, and then developing mitigation strategies, the university can enhance the reliability and validity of its admissions decisions. This aligns with the implicit ethical obligation to ensure a fair and equitable assessment for all applicants, a core tenet of academic integrity. An approach that focuses solely on historical data without considering future vulnerabilities is incorrect because it is reactive rather than proactive. While historical data can inform risk assessment, an exclusive reliance on it fails to anticipate emerging threats or changes in the examination environment. This can lead to a false sense of security and leave the university unprepared for new challenges, potentially compromising the fairness of the exam. An approach that prioritizes the ease of implementation over the comprehensiveness of risk identification is also incorrect. While efficiency is important, it should not come at the expense of thoroughness in assessing risks that could significantly impact the fairness and validity of the entrance examination. Overlooking critical risks due to a desire for simplicity would be a failure in due diligence. Finally, an approach that is purely descriptive and does not include any element of mitigation planning is insufficient. Risk assessment is not merely an academic exercise. It is a practical tool for safeguarding the examination process. Without a plan to address identified risks, the assessment itself lacks purpose and effectiveness, failing to meet the university's objective of ensuring a robust admissions process. A professional decision-making process for similar situations involves first understanding the objectives of the process being assessed, in this case, fair and effective university admissions. Then, one must identify potential threats or vulnerabilities that could impede these objectives. Subsequently, the focus shifts to evaluating the likelihood and impact of these threats, and finally, developing and implementing strategies to mitigate the most significant risks. This iterative process ensures that the assessment remains relevant and effective in protecting the integrity of the examination. Question 18. Analysis of a prospective student preparing for the Aichi University of Technology entrance exam who encounters conflicting advice online regarding the use of specific digital study aids. Some online discussion suggests that certain AI-powered summarization tools are permissible, while others warn against any form of automated assistance. The student is unsure whether these tools are considered unauthorized aids under the exam's regulations. Option A. The student should contact the Aichi University of Technology admissions office directly to request explicit clarification on the permitted use of digital study aids, including AI-powered summarization tools. Option B. The student should rely on the consensus of opinion from online forums and peer discussions to determine the acceptability of the AI-powered summarization tools. Option C. The student should proceed with using the AI-powered summarization tools, assuming they are permissible as long as they are not directly used during the exam itself. Option D. The student should avoid all digital study aids that have any potential for ambiguity, even if they are generally considered helpful for learning. Correct answer is A. The student should contact the Aichi University of Technology admissions office directly to request explicit clarification on the permitted use of digital study aids, including AI-powered summarization tools. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic assistance and the university's commitment to academic integrity. The pressure to succeed in a competitive entrance exam, coupled with the availability of potentially unauthorized resources, requires careful judgment to uphold ethical standards. The correct approach involves a student proactively seeking clarification on the permitted study materials and resources directly from the Aichi University of Technology's admissions office or relevant academic department. This demonstrates a commitment to understanding and adhering to the exam's specific regulations. This approach is ethically sound and aligns with the principles of academic honesty by ensuring that all preparation is conducted within the established rules. It avoids any presumption or misinterpretation of guidelines, thereby safeguarding the integrity of the examination process. An incorrect approach would be to rely on unofficial online forums or advice from peers who may not have accurate or up-to-date information regarding the Aichi University of Technology entrance exam-specific requirements. This is ethically problematic as it risks violating exam regulations, potentially leading to disqualification. It bypasses the official channels for information, demonstrating a lack of diligence in verifying the legitimacy of study methods. Another incorrect approach would be to assume that general study practices for university entrance exams are universally applicable without confirming them with the specific institution. This is a failure in due diligence and can lead to unintentional noncompliance. The Aichi University of Technology entrance exam may have unique guidelines regarding permitted resources or prohibited aids that differ from other institutions. A final incorrect approach would be to interpret ambiguous or incomplete information from unofficial sources in a way that favors personal convenience, even if it might be technically against the spirit of the regulations. This demonstrates a disregard for the importance of strict adherence to rules and can be seen as an attempt to gain an unfair advantage. Professionals in academic settings, including students preparing for entrance exams, should adopt a decision-making framework that prioritizes seeking official guidance, verifying information from authoritative sources, and acting with integrity. When in doubt, direct communication with the examining body is always the most responsible course of action. Question 19. Market research demonstrates that a significant number of prospective students are highly motivated to attend Aichi University of Technology. During the preparation for the upcoming entrance examination, a representative from a prominent local company, with strong ties to the university's alumni network, approaches the admissions office. This representative expresses a strong desire for their child, who is an applicant, be admitted and subtly suggests that providing some insight into the examination's focus areas would be greatly appreciated, implying potential future benefits to the university from the company. How should the admissions office respond to this situation to uphold the integrity of the Aichi University of Technology entrance examination? Option A. Politely decline the request, reiterating that the examination is designed to assess all applicants based on the same objective criteria, and that no preferential treatment or advance information can be provided. Option B. Agree to slightly adjust the difficulty of the examination for the applicant in question to ensure a more favorable outcome, citing the company's potential future contributions. Option C. Allow the applicant to bring a personal tutor into the examination room to offer discreet assistance during the test. Option D. Provide general guidance on the broad subject areas that will be covered, without revealing specific questions or formats, to show goodwill towards the influential company. Correct answer is A. Politely decline the request, reiterating that the examination is designed to assess all applicants based on the same objective criteria, and that no preferential treatment or advance information can be provided. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a university's academic mission and the potential for external influence on admissions processes. Maintaining the integrity of the entrance examination is paramount to ensuring fairness, meritocracy, and the reputation of Aichi University of Technology. The challenge lies in navigating requests that, while seemingly benign, could compromise the impartiality of the selection process. Careful judgment is required to uphold ethical standards and regulatory compliance. The correct approach involves a commitment to established examination procedures and a refusal to deviate from them based on external pressure. This upholds the principle of equal opportunity for all applicants and adheres to the spirit and letter of Aichi University of Technology's entrance examination regulations, which are designed to ensure a fair and objective assessment of candidates' abilities. Any deviation, even if perceived as minor or well-intentioned, could set a precedent for future undue influence and erode trust in the examination's validity. Incorrect approach that involves providing advance information about the examination content to a specific individual or group would be a direct violation of examination integrity. This action undermines the principle of a level playing field and constitutes unfair advantage, which is strictly prohibited by academic regulations governing entrance examinations. Another incorrect approach, such as altering the difficulty of the examination for a particular candidate, also represents a serious ethical and regulatory breach. This is a form of preferential treatment that directly contradicts the objective assessment criteria established by the university. It compromises the validity of the results and can lead to the admission of unqualified candidates, thereby damaging the university's academic standing. A further incorrect approach, such as allowing a candidate to have an unauthorized assistant during the examination, is a clear violation of examination rules designed to ensure individual performance is assessed. This constitutes academic misconduct and would invalidate the candidate's examination results, while also exposing the university to reputational damage. Professionals in university admissions and examination administration should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes adherence to established policies and regulations. This framework involves 1. clearly understanding and internalizing all relevant university regulations and guidelines for entrance examinations. 2. Evaluating any request or situation against these established rules. 3. Consulting with supervisors or relevant committees when faced with ambiguous or challenging situations. 4. Maintaining strict confidentiality regarding examination content and procedures. 5. Documenting all decisions and actions taken, especially those that deviate from standard practice, though in this case, adherence to standard practice is the correct path. The ultimate goal is to safeguard the fairness and integrity of the academic selection process. Question 20. The efficiency study reveals that certain administrative departments at Aichi University of Technology are operating with significant redundancies, potentially impacting resource allocation for academic programs. The university administration is considering several options to address these findings. Which of the following represents the most ethically sound and professionally responsible approach, considering the regulatory framework and guidelines for Japanese university entrance exams and operations? Option A. Outsource all non-core administrative functions identified as inefficient to external service providers to leverage specialized expertise and reduce internal operational burdens. Option B. Conduct a limited internal review by senior management only, focusing solely on the financial implications of the study's findings to justify immediate budget cuts in the identified departments. Option C. Form a cross-departmental task force, including faculty representatives, student council members, and administrative staff from affected areas, to collaboratively analyze the study's findings, propose solutions, and ensure proposed changes align with the university's educational mission and stakeholder well-being. Option D. Immediately implement significant staff reductions and process consolidations in the identified departments to achieve maximum cost savings and operational efficiency, as indicated by the study. The correct answer is D. Immediately implement significant staff reductions and process consolidations in the identified departments to achieve maximum cost savings and operational efficiency, as indicated by the study. Explanation. The efficiency study reveals potential areas for improvement in the university's administrative processes. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the pursuit of operational excellence with the ethical obligations to stakeholders, particularly students and faculty, whose academic experience and work environment could be impacted. Decisions must be made with integrity, transparency, and a commitment to the university's mission, adhering strictly to the regulatory framework governing Japanese educational institutions and university operations. The correct approach involves a thorough, data-driven evaluation of the study's findings, followed by a consultative process with relevant stakeholders. This ensures that proposed changes are not only efficient, but also practical, equitable, and aligned with the university's educational objectives and ethical standards. Specifically, it necessitates engaging with faculty representatives, student bodies, and administrative staff to gather feedback, address concerns, and collaboratively develop implementation strategies. This aligns with principles of good governance and stakeholder engagement, which are implicitly expected within the Japanese educational context to foster trust and ensure the long-term sustainability of the institution. An approach that prioritizes cost reduction without considering the impact on educational quality or student services would be ethically flawed. This could lead to a decline in the student experience, potentially violating implicit commitments to providing a supportive learning environment. Similarly, implementing changes unilaterally without consulting affected parties disregards principles of fairness and transparency, which are fundamental to ethical organizational conduct. Such actions could undermine morale among faculty and staff, leading to decreased productivity and a negative institutional climate. Furthermore, any proposed changes must comply with relevant Japanese laws and regulations pertaining to university administration, employment, and student welfare, which are not explicitly detailed here but are understood to be paramount. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with a comprehensive understanding of the problem and its potential consequences. This involves gathering all relevant information, including the efficiency study's findings and potential impacts. Next, they should identify all affected stakeholders and consider their perspectives and concerns. Ethical principles and relevant regulations must then be applied to evaluate potential solutions. Finally, A collaborative and transparent approach to decision-making and implementation, with clear communication throughout the process, is crucial for achieving sustainable and ethically sound outcomes.